So for the first time in a long time, we are covering some confirmed information on the channel, but it isn't great news because basically Timothy on the latest earning calls has confirmed that there will be significant delays with the iPads and Mac range in the second half of the year. And so let's delve into the nitty-gritty details and also discuss what this means for you guys planning to buy a current Mac or iPad, or even a future model that could be launching very soon. So delving into the nitty-gritty details real quick, basically Apple has an earnings call every quarter where they talk about how they've made a ton of money, but also investors ask about the future of the company and what they expect sales to be like, and in this case, how they expect to handle with the global chip shortage that's pretty much affected every major player in the tech industry. And well, Tim Cook basically says that yes, Apple might be affected by this in the second half of the year, purely because right now, the times are incredibly unpredictable, especially with COVID. And basically Tim says that he cannot predict how things will be in the near future purely because of this chip shortage. And CFO Luca Maestri, I believe that's how you say his name, but anyways, he confirmed that yes, Apple's gonna lose around $3 to $4 billion from the iPad and Mac market purely because of this chip shortage. In fact, you might remember a report from Nikkei Asia Review a while back, which basically delved into this exact topic and basically said that Apple's having shortages with the chips on the Mac side, so the M series processors they use, and on the iPad side, it's more display component related, which does suggest to me that maybe mini LED production is currently having major issues, which of course Mark Gurman did hint at in a previous report. Now, in case you don't know about this chip shortage, as far as I'm understanding, basically the demand for these chips is super high, but of course because of COVID, the supply just can't meet the demand because everybody needs a computer right now in this virtual world where everybody is working remotely, and of course with the iPad and Mac demand being at an all-time high, Apple's supply simply can't meet the insane demand. In fact, I believe the waiting time for a primary component like a processor, for example, is around 30 weeks, which roughly translates to 7 months. That is absolutely wild, and it clearly illustrates how major of an issue this really is. Now, I do want to say there is a good chance this could be a marketing tactic, because if you think about it, telling people that there will be a shortage in the next few months basically gets them to buy whatever they were planning to buy now, which of course increases Apple's revenue and profit. And so that very much could be the case, and I do believe that TSMC and Apple are best buddies, and so they have exclusive contracts where they basically make 5nm and even 3nm chips very soon for Apple exclusively. However, since this has affected every company, it's bound to affect Apple too, and there will come a point where TSMC might run out of resources and simply can't make enough chips for Apple. So let's talk about how this is going to affect you guys. So obviously, if you're planning to buy the new iPad Pro or the new iMac, I would highly recommend that you now just go ahead and pre-order it and get it on launch day, because the fact Apple still hasn't mentioned any concrete launch date does hint to me that Apple has very tight supply of the new iPads and the new iMac. So definitely try and pre-order this as soon as possible. Right, so let's now move on to the future products, because there are clearly a lot of you guys waiting for future releases. And on the iPad side, I doubt there'll be many issues since, of course, the remaining releases we have are the budget iPad and the iPad mini 6, which for the most part are just recycling existing designs, and so there really shouldn't be an issue as far as I know. But then we come on to the Macs, and that's a completely different story. So obviously in terms of Mac releases, the main two are of course the iMac Pro or the higher end iMac, and of course the M1X MacBook Pro. Now yes, I know I covered a report a few days ago that literally said the next generation Apple M2 was in production for the next generation MacBook Pros, and apparently these chips could be ready by July. But at the same time, it is pretty fair to say that Timothy is way more accurate than some random source claiming the M2 is in production, and so maybe that story was completely bogus. But you see, the issue with the MacBook Pro is that not only is it affected by the chip shortage, but also the mini LED shortage, and so couple that with the fact that this will be a completely new design for Apple, and so obviously that's going to take a lot more time to manufacture, and so I do think there is a chance that these MacBook Pros could be pushed back. So what do I predict will be the case instead? Well, I think we either see a reveal at WWDC and we just end up waiting a long time for them to ship. So much like we're seeing with the M1 iMac, where it's basically launching a month after the announcement, maybe we have to wait 2 months possibly for the MacBook Pros. It could be some insane wait. We just have to wait and see. It's either that or maybe Apple just has an event in November and just releases the MacBook Pro closer to the event. Also, there is a chance that maybe Apple scraps features just so they can get these machines out as fast as possible. So maybe using mini LED on the 16-inch exclusively, much like we see on the iPad Pro, or maybe even worse, but I can see this happening, maybe the M1 stays in the 14-inch and then the M1X only comes in the 16-inch MacBook Pro. In fact, that's most likely the reason why the M1 is now in the iPad Pro and the iMac, since of course we did expect A14X and the M1X in the iPad and iMac respectively, but of course from a logistics reason, it's way easier for Apple to make one chip that covers 5 different devices, and so maybe Apple adds this 14-inch MacBook Pro to the M1 lineup too, just so it saves them time and money and resources, especially during this chip shortage. And by the way, as for the iMac, I'm not really sure when we're seeing that. Maybe that will be towards the end of the year alongside a Mac Pro Mini, since Mark Gurman did suggest that might be the case a few weeks ago. Anyways, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. For the latest Apple news and rumors, check out the video in the iCard above about my wish list for iPadOS 15. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya, peeps.